Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Next Up podcast. I bring you greetings from my girlfriend of 43 years this November the 19th. 43 years, you all. So she sends her love, her greetings to you as we're going to continue talking about the issue, or really the crisis, of the Black family. All right. Now, this is not just exclusive to Black folks, though my focus is on the Black family because of the crises that we're in. But those of you that are not Black, those of you that are of other ethnic groups, you're included as well. You're not excluded, but because of the crisis that is in the Black family, I must address the Black family. Before doing so, I want to thank all of you that are viewing the podcast, that are liking, subscribing, and sharing the channel. I really do appreciate you. Keep doing it. We see the numbers going up, and we thank you for it. So now let's get into addressing the Black family crisis. It is a crisis. Now, I do want you to understand that though I'm saying the Black family crises wouldn't be there without, first of all, there being a crisis in the marriage. All right, everything starts somewhere. So the crises, let's just back up a little bit, even from the I do or the marriage. What is going on in our ability to relate as Black males and females, or again, males and females, period? Because as we looked at things over a period of time, statistics show that not only are Black families in turmoil, when you look over at other ethnic groups, Caucasian families, other ethnic groups as well, but again, according to a man that I greatly admire, George Frazier, who's been out there for a while. I think he's in his 80s, I believe it is. But George brought forth a statistic that I'm going to repeat over and over again concerning all families, but particularly the Black family or the Black marriage crises. Here is what he said, and I'm quoting his statements. He said, the Black family is in a crisis. Marriage is down to 34%. 34% of Black marriages, according to the statistics that he found out, Black marriages are at a 34% staying together rate. He said 71% of sisters are not married, and 29% will not get married. Black people, Black sisters. 63% of brothers are not married in the Black community, and 30%, he said, will not get married. Then he goes on to say, there is a crisis in the history. There is no culture, there is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize its potential without the family being at the center. The family must be at the center. The family is an offspring of the marriage, which is an offspring of the two people inside of the marriage, the male and the female. All right? So what's going on? Why is it that we're not relating? We're not staying together? What's going on, first of all, in the life of us as males? Then what's going on in the heart of the females? We've got to consider this. This is why we really encourage people, don't just go and rush into marriage. You know, I saw her, it was love at first sight. Oh, he said these words to me and just swept me off my feet. Well, I think we better hold our consciousness. We need to hold our rationale, take it slow, get to know, so we'll know who we're signing on the dotted line to. In other words, simply stated, we need to know about that individual. You're not about to know about the individual if on the first date you're already kissing and hugging. If already sometimes on the first date is not, it's beyond that. It's going to the bedroom. You know, you don't know that individual. You're just infatuated by appearance or by words. You don't know that individual. Well, when you look at the number of people who say, I'm in love, and then less than a year later, they're out of love. But we thought you said you were in love. No, you were in lust. You were in infatuation. You were in, I just want to have somebody, or I'm going to get married this year to somebody. You know, those kind of things going on. But that's not a good foundation to build anything on, really, when you go in and build it quick. I read a statement some years ago that said, the only thing that starts at the top is a grave digger. Or let me rephrase it. You rush into something, you probably end up rushing out of it because you just don't know the individual that you are connecting your life to. So my point there is, you got to take it slow. Get to know. You're deciding on getting married, you're going to have plenty enough time for the bedroom, for the kissing and the hugging and all of that kind of stuff. See, I'm convinced, girlfriend and I, we've been married for, again, this November the 19th will make 43 years. We have counseled a lot of couples over the years, being pastors and even beyond the pastorate. And we're convinced that a lot of people just did not take the time to get to know. All right? And therefore trying to build a relationship off of the exterior instead of getting to know the interior. All right? In other words, people rush into saying I do and didn't take the time to know, what does that person think? How does that person think? What are some of the philosophies, values, vision? How does my to-be relate to dad and mom if they're still living or while they were living? See, these are things that we need to consider. And again, like I said, girlfriend and I, we've counseled a lot of couples, and we find out a lot of times people spend time checking out a home that they're going to purchase or a vehicle, and then just turn right around and just rush right into marriage. You see, it's easy to get in, but it's tough getting out. In other words, it's not a good day when divorce hits, or there's so much frustration and anger and bitterness and choppy words and all that stuff going on to where the environment is tense. You see, it's tough. And we need to consider that. This is why we don't need to rush it. Take your time, get to know. And this is what we have seen oftentimes. People didn't take the time, really didn't, in some cases, didn't even want to take the time. I just want what I want. I want it right now for whatever reason. All right? So my admonition is to take the time. Going back to George Fraser, no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize its potential could do so without the family being at the center. And again, it's the marriage that gives birth to the family. All right? We're at 34%. And of course, him being who he is, particularly in the financial space, he talks about, well, how do you expect to keep wealth in our culture? It's going to leak out as divorce rates increase. And then it's like the next generation has to start all over again from where we started when it comes down to building economic stability. Not even, dear God, talking about cultural sanity, integrity, and so forth and so on. So we've got to do something about it. As Frazier says, we got to fix this thing, meaning that we got to go in here and be willing to deal with the issues. We've got to talk. Now, our team, Men Magnifying Manhood, of course, we partnered up with other men's groups like Official Pro Players, ran by Walt Harris, former NFL player. We partnered up with the Sons of Allen, who our gateway, our connecting rod there, Stan Smith. We've connected up even with women's groups like Press the Pause, ran by Rose Graham. These are people you can look up. And Dual Support, ran by Sanjanita Jordan. These are people that we have networked up with. They're on our Men Magnifying Manhood platform. Here's my time for a commercial. That is every Tuesday night. We've been doing it for about 7 years. Every Tuesday night, we have an empowerment Zoom. Women, as well as the men, of course, get on the Men Magnifying Manhood Empowerment platform. But my point, the picture I wanted you to see is this. We've joined forces. One of them, Sanjanita, she deals with domestic violence, these issues, domestic violence that's going on with women and men as well. Rose Graham, she's dealing with, hey, press the pause. Let's put things on pause. Let's do an evaluation. Let's consider the whys as to why we're not getting along. And of course, we deal with the Men Magnifying Manhood. Walt Harris and his team deals with Men Matter and addressing young men. His wife, Tarshika, she deals with young girls, protecting their pearls. So we've got people in our connection. And I'm saying that to say, if you're not a part of something like this, organizations like this, or with the men's group, women's group, or what have you there in your church or your organization, I encourage you to do so. To connect and learn, connect and contribute, so that we can be solutions to the problem. Of course, now if you got a problem going on yourself, you got to pull into the service station, the relational hospital, or however you want to label that, and get help. Don't just keep suffering in silence. Apart from help, get help. So connect up, join with organizations that can help encourage you, empower you, edify you to go to another level in your own personhood. All right. So these are some of the entities. There are others that we're connected to, but these are the ones that right off the bat that I remember right now. So I said that to say we've got to be a solution to this issue. It is a crisis. And Frazier went on to say, if we don't change this trajectory, we've got to do it. In the next 15 to 20 years, the Black community, as far as marriage is concerned, will be down in the teens. In the teens. We've got to do something about it. We've got to start with focus. Now, a few words I want to give to you to where we've got to engage with these words. Number one is we've got to focus on the issue. We've got to stop going to church pretending like everything is hunky-dory, or going to work, pretending like everything is hunky-dory, putting on that face. How are you doing? Doing just great. And you just left misery. You're heartbroken. You're grossly disturbed because what's going on at home will tend to spill over at some point in time into other aspects of your life. So we've got to give some focus to the fact we're in a crisis. 34% of marriages are staying together. In the next 15 to 20 years, is projected to be in the teens. Great people, we've got to give focus to it. Then, of course, as we say, hey, this is going to be our focus, we got to talk. We've got to get in conversation. This is why, again, on our Men Magnifying Manhood Empowerment Zone, you could join us every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We have men and women up there, and we talk. Now, I'm going to do my best to make sure I give you the Zoom ID, 499-7676-341. 499-7676-341, and the access code is capital B, capital G, 73, the lowercase z as in zebra, and then capital P. Once again, that is 499-7676-341. Then the access code is capital B, capital G, 73, lowercase z as in zebra, and capital P as in Paul. And you can join us. Women, you can do it as well as brothers. We're inviting you to do so as well. All right? Because we're empowering one another. We are doing this thing. We are causing a rippling effect to take place to where people can see men and women communicating, striving to work together. We're on different ones' platforms, contributing, all right? If it's press the pause, or if it's official pro players, or if it is dual support, or whatever organization, we intermingle with one another to contribute. So we've got to focus, then we've got to talk. And in our talking and our communicating, number 3, we got to be empathetic. Don't be so quick to bring the hammer. I'm just so mad with her. I'm so bitter and upset with him. We've got to bring some empathy to the table. Some desire to want to understand, to listen to that other side. All right, we got to bring this. So let's focus. Let's talk. Let's be empathetic. Let's be, moving with the intent to solve the problem, not to just fuss. Some people just want to fuss. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. You may need that peace of mind for yourself so that you will be mentally stable and sound. You know where I'm coming from. You don't want to just get into that fuss to just fuss to just fuss. No, you want to come to the table with the intent. We got to deal with this issue. We've got to solve it. All right. And we've got to create the environment, the climate to where we can communicate, because without communication, you're not going to get anywhere. All right. I'm going to give you some keys in a few moments that can kick this thing off. All right. Some keys for any relationship to emerge, to evolve, to become better. But first of all, we've got to consider what is happening. Why is there such a divide? Why is it that we can't, or we're not? It's not that we can't, because we really can. Why is it that we're not getting along? Listen to these statements. The world has grown suspicious of anything that looks like, in many cases, a happy marriage, a stable marriage. The world has grown suspicious. Really? You mean to tell me after 5 years, you guys are still getting along? Excuse me. What? 10 years and you all are still going on dates? You've been married for how long? 30 years? And you're still calling her girlfriend? Now, that's part of what I like to do because I determined early on in our relationship, I was not going to be calling my wife an old lady. That was out. And she's got her nice words that she gives to me. She's my girlfriend of going on 43 years. I take it to heart that she allowed me to marry her, that God gave me an opportunity to be connected, to be married with a choice daughter of his, choice royalty. And I'm appreciative to that she's put up with Calvin Ellison for going on 43 years. But she's my girlfriend. That's my point. If you want your marriage to get better, think about the words that you use to communicate, the tone of those words. What do you call your mate? Do you call her, like that song said, sugar pie, honey bun? I'm not going to go any further because I don't want to get into singing that song. But what do you call your wife? Is it baby cake, darling? Or what do you call your husband? What name have you labeled? See, I call my wife my girlfriend. Anybody and anywhere that I meet and we get to talking relationship stuff, they're going to know, oh, he's married to his girlfriend. His girlfriend of 43 years, November 19th, is his wife. Why? Because I understood earlier on in the game, got it from my father. You notice how God speaks to us, what God says about us. We're his bride. We're his body. We are royal. We are the apple of his eye. Look at those words that God puts out there on his people. So I learned it from him. He calls the church his bride, his body, the apple of his eye. Now, who am I to go and do anything different from the one who created me? So that's where we got a lot of the issues at right there. We're just not following the pattern, following the model. It's there in the Bible. Jesus shows us, God shows us really how to cause a marriage to work. If we'll dig into the scriptures, follow his wisdom, it'll work. Girlfriend and I are living witnesses. We look like two misfits early on. I came from an environment, I didn't know what a good marriage looked like. She came from an environment where daddy was getting the gun after mama and the family. So you don't know what the good marriage looks like, don't know what good manhood is, and then you being hooked up to somebody who says, oh, if men are like the way my father got the gun at my mother and the rest of her other siblings, oh, is that what a man is like? That's who I married. And the Lord said, you're going to have to work with me to diffuse and get that out of her imagery. Then I don't know all of what the Lord told her concerning me, then she had to work with somebody with gross ignorance. My father never married my mother. And the marriage that he did get into, and I'm not saying that to bash him, that's not my point. No, we had a good connection and relationship so a few years before he passed, to the best that we could have it, you know, but there was no animosity in my heart. And my sister, one of my sisters from that particular relationship went to him and we talked and we forgave him and cried along with him and let him know, hey, we're okay, we're good with you. But the reality was, for whatever reason, he was just not a good husband. The marriage ended in divorce. And I'm not saying it's all on him because it takes two. But from some of the information that I found out, his game could have been better, But I use that to say, Calvin Ellison, you don't want to treat your to-be, you don't want to treat your wife the way he treated his wife. So I didn't follow that pattern. I was determined. I wanted to follow the pattern of Christ and the church. And the few people that was in my space that I searched out, I wanted to follow good patterns, in other words, good role models. And that's part of my encouragement to you. You got to find good role models because you're going to tend to become like what you see on a regular basis. So you just can't pattern, you can't model your relationship after everybody. It's not wise. You gotta choose very wisely. And just because he or she has a title doesn't mean that they're ready for you or that they're good for you. We've seen it over the years. A lot of ladies this guy's got the title of a bishop. He's an apostle. He's a pastor. Now, from the ecclesiastical side. But he was a miserable husband, And we've seen the same thing on the wife's side. We have to really take the time to get to know at this present moment, is he or she marriage material? Is it somebody who has a posture of humility? I'm willing to learn. Because if I'm not willing to learn, if I'm not willing to become a better version of myself, that's the attitude I'm taking into the relationship. Do you expect that the marriage is going to get better when I'm stuck on, well, you knew I was this way before I got married? So what? Marriage, you just like any person in athletics, in business, you got to grow. Nobody's going to grow without humility. In other words, you're willing to learn. You didn't max out when you hit 21. You didn't max out when you hit 41. All of life is education. And dear God, when it comes down to marriage and the family, we've got to be willing to do just like anything else that God created, plant, animal. You got to be willing to grow because God put us here to grow, to develop, to become better versions of ourselves, giving different expressions of the same person as we age. See, if I'm going to hold on to my 21-year-old or the 21-year-old mentality when I was 41, I'm not going to become a better version of myself. And when I was 51, trying to hold on to that when I was 61, which I'm beyond my 61 time frame. But if I was going to hold on to that mentality, there's no way that Calvin and Judy Ellison, and we've had the opportunity since the third year of marriage, almost 40 years of ministering to married couples. There's no way we could have done that and still do that if we were not willing to grow. Judy was willing to grow. I'm willing to grow. We wanted to give pleasure to the King of Kings, the creator of this institution of marriage. We wanted to give him pleasure, and we still do want to give him pleasure because we believe that when a man and a woman's ways please the one who created the institution that they joined their lives in. We believe it's our persuasion. If we please him, the two of us will benefit from one another. Oh my God. So much to cover. But let me give you some more of this data, of these statements that I wrote down. It has been noted that the family is the nearest thing to torture when it is torn by rebel forces, and the nearest thing to God when it cares enough to live, love, struggle, and conquer as one unit. I'm going to say that again. Excuse me. It has been noted that the family is the nearest thing to torture when it is torn by rebel forces. There are forces that are at work to tear the family down, the marriage down. So it's the nearest thing to torture when it's torn by rebel forces, and the nearest thing to God when it cares enough, that marriage and or that family cares enough to live, love, struggle, and conquer as one great unit. You see, we've got to get on one accord about this thing, about making the institution of marriage and family better. We've got to get on one accord. Brothers, we got to bring the family together, the marriage to the table of discussion about things that we need to correct, areas that we need to better. It is our responsibility as men to bring us, to call us as units together. Let's talk. Let's set the environment, the temperature for talking, for discussing, for understanding, so I can see things from your point of view without butting in every sentence. You know, I want to hear you out. Then you hear me out. And we approach this thing with the intent to understand, be empathetic, sympathetic, to build one another up, knowing that if this is part of what we're doing, of our process, oh, things are going to get better. We're going to close the gaps in communication. We're going to close those understanding gaps to where we are great contributors in helping to get rid of the problems and helping the relationships to get better. A marriage without biblical guidelines or principles is like a house without walls. You see, everything was created by God. He is the creator of the heavens and the earth. He has the guidelines, the principles through which anything can be built. So this is why I make the statement, a relationship with, let me break it down and say it like this then. A relationship without the guidelines of the one who created that institution is really like a house without walls. Well, my time is up, but just before I close, I did say I would give you some keys. Here are some keys to rectifying the problems, closing the gaps, diffusing the crises. All right, the first key I want to give to you is that of governance, out from which the philosophies or the wisdom of that government flows. Excuse me. I'm talking about the government or the philosophies, the wisdom of the one who created the institution. Somebody we believe to be God, I believe to be God Almighty, created the institution. He created your existence and the institution that he knew that we would need. The institution of marriage, he said, it's not good that man is alone, all right? So he created the concept of marriage between a male and a female. And then out of that, of course, came the family. God is into this thing of family. All right? So we got to get back. Number one key, I believe, is the government wisdom philosophies of the one who created the institution of marriage. We've got to get back there. Brothers, you don't own the marriage. Sisters, you don't own the marriage. You didn't create it. It existed before you were born. God created it. So we got to go back to his guidelines, his principles, his wisdom as to how that thing is to operate. That's my first key. In other words, take your relationship back to God. Or let me say it like this, take it back to the manufacturer, as Dr. Miles Monroe so coined. Number two, the second key is that which is the basis of life, communication. If you're not communicating, there's no way you can build anything. There's no way you can rectify anything. It's going to take, it is required that we communicate. We've got to talk and be effective in our communicating, not just blabbing off. Well, okay, you want to communicate? Okay. And you're yelling to the top of your voice. Your eyes look like they're about to jump out of your head. Who wants to communicate with you when you're in that kind of posture? So, second key is communication. We're talking about helping to deal with the crises that's in any ethnic group, but our focus, the crises in the Black family, in the Black marriage. Number three, my third key to give to you is that of balance. There's got to be balance. It can't be all your way as a wife or all your way as a husband. There's got to be balance. So you got to listen to the other person and consider their thoughts, their emotions, their advice. It's got to be balanced. It can't just be one person's way and then the other, in other words, the thing is like this. It needs to be like this. Balance. Balance is the key to life. It's got to be balanced. Just think if all we had was night, or if all we had was day, or if all we had was summer, or if all we had was winter. Notice how God created the seasons. God created life to have a balance. Balance is the key to life. Communication, let me back up. Communication is the basis of life. The sun communicates with the earth. The plants communicate with the ground. The waters and the fish and all the animals, species of things in the waters, there's communication going on. All right. Number four. Number four is exchange. The fourth key is exchange. Exchange is the process. Now, there is no exchange if one party is communicating and the other party is on mute. And 30 minutes have gone by. There's no exchange of information, of thoughts. There's got to be exchange. It is the process of life. The next one, number 5, because I didn't label them. Number 5, the fifth key is agreement. Agreement is the power of life. If there is no agreeing going on, there's going to be no power. There's got to be agreement. Now you can disagree, but you can be disagreeable on certain issues, but it doesn't mean you go around, you're just a disagreeable individual. You can't agree on anything. You got to consider where that's coming from and be willing to deal with it. You can disagree without being disagreeable, in other words, as we have heard. The sixth key is that of, now this is a big one too, submission. You've got to be willing to submit to one another, as the book of Ephesians chapter 5 tells us to do. Submitting or yielding to one another in the fear, the reverence, the wisdom of God, the wisdom of the one who created us, the wisdom of the one who created the institution of marriage and the family. All right? Submission is number 6. Number 7, accountability. Now that means things like you don't get up and leave the house without letting your mate know where you're going. Or you just get up and leave, you don't even tell him or her that you've gone. No, you've got to be accountable. That is my number 7. Number 6 was submission. Number 7 is accountability. You've got to account. If you're doing it, you've been leaving home, don't even greet your mate, don't even say I'm gone, stop it. Cut it out. How do you expect there to be intimacy or closeness in your relationship, honor and respect, when you just get up and leave at will? Don't let your mate know where you're going, and then you expect to come back home to a happy mate? It's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. So we've got to be accountable. And lastly, I got 2 more. Number 8 is responsibility. You got to be responsible for your actions. You can't sit around talking about, well, the devil made me do it. Now, he may be out there manipulating and, putting some thoughts there, but still you're responsible. All right? We've got to accept responsibility for our actions. Nobody can get along with a person blaming everybody else all the time, blaming your mate all the time. You expect your mate to get along with you. No, you got to accept responsibility for your actions, for your dealings. And lastly, number 9 is dependability. Can your mate depend on you to do your part? Can your mate depend on you to contribute or do your part, to be there, to spend time with him or her? And the list just goes on and on. The bottom line is, are you promoting dependability? Because if you're not, there's no way we're going to help diffuse the crisis. And there's something that all of us can do, every single one of us, starting with Calvin Ellison. Calvin Ellison can take his influence to another level, his impact to another level, his loving people to another level, his being committed to the whole of our culture, or the slice of the pie that I can serve. I can do more. I know that. And this is part of what I'm striving to do by bringing you the Next Up podcast and addressing the issue of the Black family crisis. And guess what? You can help. If you're not doing anything, you can help us at Men Magnifying Manhood, Official Pro Players, Dual Support, Press the Pause, and the other ones that we're connected to. You can help by just sharing this podcast, liking, subscribing to the channel, and sharing what you're hearing. You can help diffuse the issue. So I encourage you to do so. My time is up. Got to stop now. We love you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. what you have heard today so that this word will keep spreading and we can reach as many people as we can. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you next time on Next Up. Have a great rest of your day, night, or what have you. See you next time.